books of 2018. If you guys are as ravenous of readers as I am, you will enjoy this list, so let's get into this video. The descriptions of these books I'll be getting from Goodreads and from Google themselves, because I know I love to curl up with a good book, as I'm sure you do too, so let's find some amazing novels together. First novel that Google recommends for the best reads of 2018 is Cersei. Funny story there, for the longest time when I had seen the title of that book, I thought it said circle. Okay, let's get started. The summary of Cersei is: in the house of Helios, god of the sun and mightiest of the Titans, a daughter is born, but Cersei is a strange child, not powerful like her father, nor viciously alluring like her mother. This book is called Cersei, and it's by Madeline Miller. I highly recommend that you check it out because that sounds like an amazing read. The next book is called Warlight. This is by Michael Ordotti. In a narrative as mysterious as memory itself, at once both shadowed and luminous, Warlight is a vivid, thrilling novel of violence and love, intrigue and desire. It is 1945, and London is still reeling from the Blitz and years of war. 14-year-old Nathaniel and his sister Rachel are apparently abandoned by their parents, left in the care of an enigmatic figure named the Moth. They suspect that he might be criminal, and grow both more convinced and less concerned as they get to know his eccentric crew of friends, men and women with a shared history, all of whom seem determined now to protect and educate in rather unusual ways. Rachel and Nathaniel. But are they really what and who they claim to be? A dozen years later, Nathaniel begins to uncover all he didn't know or understand in that time, and it is this journey, through reality, recollection, and imagination, that is told in the magnificent novel. That also sounds like an amazing read. I love creepy and mysterious books, as I hope you guys do too. The next novel is There There by Tommy Orange. The description for this book is as follows. Fierce, angry, funny, heartbreaking, Tommy Orange's first novel is a wondrous and shedding portrait of an American few of us have ever seen, and introduces us to a brilliant new author at the start of a major career. There is a relentlessly paced multi-generational story about violence and recovery, memory and identity, and the beauty and despair woven into the history of a nation and its people. It tells the story of 12 characters, each of whom have private reasons for traveling to the big Oakland powwow. Jackie Red Feather is newly sober and trying to make it back to the family she left behind in shame. Dean Oxidine is pulling his life back together after his uncle's death and has come to work at the powwow in honor of his uncle's memory. Opal Viola Victoria Bearshield has come to watch her nephew Orville, who has taught himself traditional Indian dance through YouTube videos and has come to the powwow to dance in public for the very first time. There will be glorious communion and a spectacle of sacred tradition and pageantry, and there will be sacrifice, heroism, and unspeakable loss. Here's a voice we've never heard, a voice full of poetry and rage, exploding onto the page with stunning urgency and force. Tommy Orange writes of this plight of the urban Native American, the Native American in the city, in a stunning novel that grapples with complex and painful history, with an inheritance of beauty and profound spirituality, and with a plague of addiction, abuse, and suicide. An unforgettable debut, destined to become required reading in schools and universities across the country. What better way to combine education and ravenous reading? They did it here. Next novel is Children of Blood and Bone, novel by Tommy Ayademi. Children of Blood and Bone is a young adult fantasy novel by Nigerian-American novelist Tommy Ayademi. Published on March 6, 2018 by Harry Holt Books for Young Readers. The story follows Zeli Ayodobo, who sets out on a task to restore magic in the country of Orisha. Sounds like a Marvel book transformed into novel form. Marvel movie transformed into novel form. What better combination can one receive? The next novel we have is The Mars Room by Rachel Kushner. It's 2003, and Rami Hall is at the start of 2 consecutive life sentences in Stanville Women's Correctional Facility, deep in California's Central Valley. Outside is the world from which she has been severed, the San Francisco of her youth and her young son Jackson. Inside is a new reality, thousands of women hustling for the bare essentials that are needed to survive. The bluffing and pageantry and casual acts of violence by guards and prisoners alike, and the deadpan absurdities of institutional living, which Kushner evokes with great humor and precision. The next novel we have is An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. Newlyweds Celestial and Ray are the embodiment of both the American dream and the New South. He is a young executive and she's an artist on the brink of an exciting career. But as they settle into a routine of their life together, they are ripped apart by circumstances neither could have imagined. Roy is arrested and sentenced to 12 years for a crime Celestial knows he didn't commit. Through fiercely independent, Celestial finds herself bereft and unmoored, taking comfort in Andre, her childhood friend and best man at their wedding. As Roy's time in prison passes, she's unable to hold on to the love that has been her center. After 5 years, Roy's conviction is suddenly overturned, and he returns to Atlanta ready to resume their life together. Ooh! Suspenseful. The next novel we have is The Incendiaries by R.O. Kwon. Phoebe Lynn and Will Kendall met their first month in prestigious Edwards University. Phoebe is a glamorous girl who doesn't tell anyone she blames herself for her mother's recent death. Will is a misfit scholarship boy who transfers to Edwards from Bible College, waiting tables to get by. What he knows for sure is that he loves Phoebe. Grieving and guilt-ridden, Phoebe is increasingly drawn to a religious group, a secretive extremist cult, founded by charismatic former student John Leal. He has an enigmatic past that involves North Korea and Phoebe's Korean-American family. Meanwhile, Will struggles to confront the fundamentalism he's trying to escape and the obsession consuming the one he loves. When the group bombs several buildings in the name of faith, killing 5 people, Phoebe disappears. Will devotes himself to finding her, tilting into obsession himself, seeking answers to what's happened to Phoebe and if she could have been responsible for this violent act. The Incendiaries is a fractured love story and a brilliant examination of the minds of extremist terrorists and of what can happen to people who lose what they love most. Awesome sounding novel. Deep. The next novel we have is The Female Persuasion. Greer Kadetsky is a shy college freshman when she meets the woman she hopes will change her life, Faith Frank. Dazzling, persuasive, and elegant at 63. has been a central pillar of the women's movement for decades, a figure who inspires others to influence the world. Upon hearing Faith speak for the first time, Greer, madly in love with her boyfriend Corey, but still full of longing for ambition, that she can't quite place, feels her inner world light up. Then astonishingly, Faith invites Greer to make something out of the sense of purpose, leading Greer down the most exciting path of her life, as it winds toward and away from her meant-to-be love story with Corey and the future she's always imagined. All of these sound like amazing novels. The next novel we have is You Think It, I'll Say It by Curtis Sittenfeld. A suburban mother of two fantasizes about the downfall of an old friend whose wholesome lifestyle empire may or may not be built on a lie. A high-powered lawyer honeymooning with her husband is caught off guard by the appearance of a girl who tormented her in high school. A shy Ivy League student learns the truth about the classmates' seemingly enviable life. Why haven't I heard of these authors sooner? These are amazing sounding novels. The next novel we have is The Immortal List by Chloe Benjamin. If you knew the date of your death, how would you live your life? It's 1969 in New York City's Lower East Side, and word has spread of the arrival of a mystical woman, a traveling psychic, who claims to be able to tell anyone the day they will die. The Gold Children, four adolescents on the cusp of self-awareness, seek out to hear their fortunes. The prophecies inform of the next 5 decades. Golden boy Simon escapes to the West Coast, searching for love in the 80s. San Francisco. Dreamy Clara becomes a Las Vegas magician, obsessed with blurring reality and fantasy. The eldest son Daniel seeks security in an army doctor post. 9/11. And bookish Vieira throws herself into the longevity research, where she tests the boundaries between science and immortality. A sweeping novel of remarkable ambition and depth, The Immortal List probes the line between destiny and choice, reality and illusion, this world and the next. It's a deeply moving testament of the power of the story, the nature of belief, and the unrelenting pull of familial bonds. Where have these novels been all my life? They are amazing sounding novels that I cannot wait to read and post reviews on, because I know you guys will like them too, as intriguing as they are to me. The next novel we have is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. A heartwarming and refreshing debut novel that proves one thing: there's not enough data in the world to predict what will make your heart tick. I love how these here have rhymed so far. They're adorable. Stella Lane thinks math is the only thing that unites the universe. She comes up with algorithms to predict customer purchases, a job that has given her more money than she knows what to do with, a way less experience in the dating department than the average 30-year-old. It doesn't help that Stella has Asperger's, and French kissing reminds her of a shark getting its teeth cleaned by pilotfish. Her conclusion: she needs a lot of practice with a professional, which is why she hires escort Michael Phan. The Vietnamese and Swedish stunner can't afford to turn down Stella's offer, and agrees to help her check off all the boxes on her lesson plan, from foreplay to more than missionary position. Before long, Stella not only learns to appreciate his kisses, but to crave all the other things he's making her feel. Soon their no-nonsense partnership starts making a strange kind of sense, and the pattern that emerges will convince Stella that love is the best kind of logic. A book there that I've been looking forward to is the next one, The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. Anna Fox lives alone, a recluse in New York City home. Unable to venture outside, she spends her day drinking wine, maybe too much, watching old movies recalling happier times, and spying on her neighbors. Then the Russells move into the house across the way, a father, a mother, their teenage son, the perfect family. But when Anna gazes out her window one night, she sees something she shouldn't. Her world begins to crumble, and its shocking secrets are laid bare. What is real? What is imagined? Who is in danger? Who's in control? In this diabolically gripping thriller, no one and nothing is what it seems. I have a feeling this book will also be impeccable in audiobook form, as most thrillers tend to be. The next novel is Girls Burn Brighter by Shobha Rao. A searing, electrifying debut novel set in India and America about a once-in-a-lifetime friendship between two girls who are driven apart but never stop trying to find one another again. When Purna first meets Savitha, she feels something she thought she lost for good when her mother died: hope. Purima's father hires Savitha to work one of their sari looms, and the two girls are quickly drawn to one another. Savitha is even more impoverished than Purima, but she's full of passion and energy. She shows Purima how to find beauty in a bolt of indigo cloth, a bowl of yogurt, rice, and bananas. Their warmth of friendship, suddenly their Indian village doesn't feel quite so claustrophobic, and Purima begins to imagine a life beyond their arranged marriage her father is desperate to lock down for her. But when a devastating act of cruelty drives Savitha away, Purima leaves behind everything she has ever known to find her friend again. Her journey takes her into the darkest corners of India's underworld, on a harrowing cross-continental journey, and eventually to an apartment complex in Seattle. Alternating between the girls' perspectives as they face relentless obstacles, Girls Burn Brighter introduces two heroines who never lose hope that burns within them. I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer by Michelle McNamara. A masterful true crime account of the Golden State Killer, the elusive serial rapist turned murderer who terrorized California for over a decade. From Michelle McNamara, the gifted journalist who died tragically while investigating the case. You'll be silent forever, and I'll be gone in the dark. For more than 10 years, a mysterious and violent predator committed 50 sexual assaults in Northern California before moving south, where he perpetuated 10 sadistic murders. Then he disappeared, eluding capture by multiple police forces and some of the best detectives in the area. Then decades later, Michelle McNamara, a true crime journalist who created the popular website TrueCrimeDiary.com, was determined to find the violent psychopath she called the Golden State Killer. Michelle pored over police reports, interviewed victims, and embedded herself in the online communities that were as obsessed with the case as she was. At the time of the crimes, the Golden State Killer was between the ages of 18 and 30. Caucasian and athletic, capable of vaulting tall fences, he always wore a mask. After choosing the victim, he favored suburban couples. He often entered their home when no one was there. Studying family pictures, mastering the layout, he attacked when they slept, using a flashlight to awaken and blind them. Though they could not recognize him, his victims recalled his voice, a guttural whisper through clenched teeth, abrupt and threatening. I'll Be Gone in the Dark is the masterpiece McNamara was writing at the time of her sudden death. Offers an atmospheric snapshot of a moment in American history and chilling account of crime, criminal mastermind, and the wreckage he left behind. It is also a portrait of the woman's obsession and her unflagging pursuits of truth. Framed in by an introduction by Gillian Flynn and the afterword by her husband, Patton Oswalt. The book was completed by Michelle's lead researcher and close colleague. Utterly original and compelling. It is Look Alive Out There by Sloane Crosley. From the New York Times bestselling author Sloane Crosley comes Look Alive Out There, a brand new collection of essays filled with her trademark hilarity, wit, and charm. The characteristic heart and punch-packing observations are back, but with a newfound coat of maturity, a thin coat. More of a blazer, really. The Recovering: Intoxication and Its Aftermath by Leslie Jamieson. With its deeply personable and seamless blend of memoir, cultural history, literary criticism, and journalistic reportage, The Recovering turns out to be an understanding of traditional addiction narrative on its head, demonstrating that the story of recovery can be every bit as electrifying as the train wreck itself. Leslie Jamieson deftly excavates the stories we tell about addiction, both her own and others, and examines what we want these stories to do and what happens when they fail us. All the while, she offers fascinating look at the larger history of the recovery movement and the literacy and artistic geniuses whose lives and works were shaped by alcoholism and substance dependence, including John Berryman, Jean Rhys, Raymond Carver, Billie Holiday, David Foster Wallace, and Dennis Johnson, as well as brilliant figures lost to the obscurity but newly illuminated here. The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. Ernst Albright, a former POW, comes home from the Vietnam War a changed and volatile man. When he loses yet another job, he makes an impulsive decision. He will move his family north to Alaska, where they will live off the grid in America's last true frontier. 13-year-old Lenny, a girl coming of age in tumultuous time, caught in the riptide of her parents' passionate, stormy relationship, dares to hope that a new land will lead to a better future for her family. She is desperate for a place to belong. Her mother, Cora, will do anything and go anywhere for the man she loves, even if it means following him into the unknown. At first, Alaska seems to be the answer to their prayers. In a wild, remote corner of the state, they find a fiercely independent community of strong men and even stronger women. The long sunlit days and the generosity of locals make up for the Albrights' lack of preparation and dwindling resources. But as winter approaches and darkness descends on Alaska, Ernst's fragile mental state deteriorates and the family begins to fracture. Soon their perils outside pale in comparison to the threats from within. In their small cabin covered in snow, blanketed in 18 hours of night, Lenny and her mother learn the terrible truth. They are on their own. In the wild, there is no one to save them but themselves. Educated, a Memoir by Tara Westover. Tara Westover grew up preparing for the end of days, watching for the sun to darken, for the moon to dip as with blood. She spent her summers bottling peaches and her winters rotating emergency supplies, hoping that when the world of men failed, her family would continue on unaffected. She hadn't been registered for a birth certificate, she had no school records because she never set foot in a classroom, and no medical records because her father didn't believe in doctors or hospitals. According to the state and federal government, she didn't exist. As she grew older, her father became more radical and her brother more violent. At 16, Tara decided to educate herself. Her struggle for knowledge would take her far from her Idaho mountains, over oceans and across continents to Harvard, to Cambridge. Only then would she wonder if she traveled too far, if there was still a way home. My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. A shocking, hilarious, and strangely tender novel about a young woman's experiment in the narcotic hibernation, aided and abetted by one of the world's worst psychiatrists in the annals of literature. Our narrator has many of the advantages of life on the surface. Young, thin, pretty, a recent Columbia graduate, she lives in an apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, paid for like everything else by her inheritance. But there's a vacuum at the heart of things, and it isn't just the loss of her parents in college, or the way her Wall Street boyfriend treats her, or her sadomasochistic relationship with her alleged best friend. It's the year 2000 in a city aglitter with wealth and possibility. What could be so terribly wrong? The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. Agreeing to go to a wedding with a guy she gets stuck with in an elevator is something Alexa Monroe wouldn't normally do. But there's something about Drew Nichols that's too hard to resist. On the eve of his ex's wedded festivities, Drew is minus a +1, until a power outage strands him with the perfect candidate for a fake girlfriend. After Alexa and Drew have more fun than they ever thought possible, Drew has to fly back to Los Angeles in his job as a pediatric surgeon, and Alexa heads home to Berkeley, where she's the mayor's chief of staff. Too bad they can't stop thinking about each other. They're just two high-powered professionals on a collision course toward the long-distance dating disaster of the century, or closing the gap between what they think they need and what they truly want. The Pisces by Melissa Broder. Lucy has been writing her dissertation about Sappho for 13 years when she and Jamie break up. After she hits rock bottom in Phoenix, her Los Angeles-based sister insists Lucy house sit for the summer. Her only task caring for a beloved diabetic dog and trying to learn to care for herself. Anika's home is gorgeous glass cube atop Venice Beach. But Lucy can find no peace from her misery and anxiety. Not in her love addiction group therapy meetings, not in frequent Tinder meetups, not in Dominic the Foxhound's easy affection, not in the roommating on the ancient Greeks. Yet everything changes when Lucy becomes entranced by an eerily attractive swimmer, one night while sitting alone on the beach rocks. I'm going to do one more and I will be making a part 2 to this video if you guys have liked this. I've really liked all of these novels so far. And make sure you guys check out my Litzy, capital R for Radical, capital R for Reader, all one word, and my Twitter is @ComedyAddict. Make sure you click the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell to be notified when I post new videos. I upload every Friday. And I read all of your guys' comments. They mean so much to me. So be sure to leave a comment down below. Two Chinese American sisters. Miranda, the older, responsible one, always her younger sister's protector. Lucia, the headstrong, unpredictable one, whose impulses are huge and often life-changing. When Lucia starts hearing voices, it is Miranda who must find a way to reach her sister. Lucia impetuously plows ahead, but the bitter constant is that she is in fact mentally ill. Lucia lives a life on a grand scale until inevitably she crashes to earth. Miranda leaves her own self-contained life in Switzerland to rescue her sister again. But only Lucia can decide whether she wants to be saved. The bonds of sisterly devotion stretch across oceans, but what does it take to break them? And this novel is Everything Here is Beautiful by Mira T. Lee. I will link the Goodreads descriptions of these books down below, as well as putting my Twitter and my Litzy account in the description so you guys can follow me on there. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, sensational smiles go for miles. Be sure to subscribe and stay a while. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, subbies!